Your calendar is packed. Every item feels urgent, and yet the list never shrinks. You are living on a hamster wheel. In my conversation with Brett Henderson, coach and author of The Consistency Effect, how to turn reliable actions into remarkable results, we unpack how reliable actions align with your purpose, can protect you from burnout, and turn work back into a life you enjoy. Like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and DM Future to continue the conversation. My name is Arjan Visser, human-centered futurist, and your host. Brett, welcome to the Alt Journey.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you about authentic leadership and also already your introduction, the alignment between belief and behavior. For me, that seems to be a returning topic in my authentic leadership transformation journey. So what do you say is the core, or maybe the tension or the challenge that we face as a leader to actually find alignment between what we believe, who we are, and even more exciting, who we are becoming?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think the essence of it is that many people spend their life chasing what they come to believe are other people's goals. They're the goals that are imposed on us by society. And social media has just amplified and accelerated those messages. And it seems like every time you pick up a news feed, you read about another overnight success, another company that has redefined its industry, another person who has become a billionaire overnight. And this is a tension. It is a goal that has been superimposed on a lot of leaders, and they feel that that is what they need to do. So in my book, The Consistency Effect, I use the metaphor of baseball as an example. And the kinds of achievements that we just talked about can be considered grand slam home runs, when in fact, more people that hit singles and doubles win more games, win more seasons, and ultimately build better careers. So what I've been trying to evangelize in the book and in my practice in coaching is that the pursuit of reliable actions will actually turn into remarkable results over time if you just give it some time.
I like that. And I totally agree with that Superman perspective that is actually plotted on all of us through social media. Although, don't blame social media. It because it just magnifies what the culture is we live in. And as a leader, I believe it's a tough transition to start leading from the inside out. And it takes a long time to mature in it, but it is so worth it. And especially so meaningful for those around us, that we are not living a fantasy, a Superman kind of avatar dream, but that we start to tap into, yes, we can become who we are created to be. And in a way, we can become anyone. We can do everything, but it's in the healthy boundaries of what's authentically ours, our design. And of course, with the so-called influencers on social media, we start to even think that that's influencing as a leader. But that's not leadership, that's marketing. So how do we start that authentic wrestling and keep it healthy, the wrestling, with the outside pressure versus the inside bubbling up of who we are becoming?
Another great question. And I really think that like many things, the first step is awareness. And it's coming to be aware of what's happening. And I liken it to the journey that many people are on in the early part of their career, where they defer their own happiness or fulfillment in favor of some goal. And that might be the next promotion. It might be making a certain amount of money. It might be gaining certain amount of industry recognition. And they keep saying, when I get there, I will then become fulfilled, or I will then start to enjoy my life. But that day never comes, because every time they achieve a goal, they just set a higher goal. And that rat race, that hamster wheel, if you like, just keeps rotating to the point where they feel burnt out, they feel exhausted. It starts to affect either their mental or physical health, or both. And it's at that point in time where they become in crisis, and it can actually lead to them shutting down and counterproductive to the goals that they're trying to achieve. So until they are aware of what's happening, and until they become aware of some higher purpose that they want to achieve in their life, or said differently, that they can have happiness and fulfillment along the way, as opposed to deferring those things until some time and some goal is achieved.
What you mentioned just a minute ago was that people keep setting up higher goals and they delaying life. That sounds to me as an early stage of maturity in life, where we live separated, and we call it balance, but it's an illusion. But I would question if people actually own the goal setting themselves, or is it just peer pressure that they keep creating bigger goals? Because I don't want to think it's greed. Whatever it is, I think it's not a healthy motivation. And like you said, you burn out by that rat race, because you're not connected to who you are and what fuels you and what drives you, and you're delaying life. And you used in your answers, you use the word reliable. So I am just puzzling and trying to shape a new question, and I'm thinking what is the reliability? Where is the connection between that and showing up reliable? How does that connect with being authentic and not bending under the external pressure, but start living from the inside out? Or do I make it too complex? Could be.
Well, there's no question that it's complex, and that there's no silver bullet solution. But I think there is a path to helping people to become aware of this phenomenon earlier. And my goal and my objective, really, with my book, was to help people. My philosophy is help people learn from other people's mistakes, because you can't live long enough to make them all yourself. So if I can help somebody to become more aware of the challenge earlier in their career, if I can highlight a number of incidents that happened to me and what I took away from them, and that can somehow hasten the progress of an individual from chasing, as you said, the false goals towards looking at being more aligned, then I will feel fulfilled in my objective, which is to try and help other leaders to go through that process more quickly, more deliberately, and to enjoy better outcomes faster.
Does that mean that the word reliable you mean something different than it's just proven results? Because then it becomes an egocentric driven, fear-based action. I sense you focus the word reliable way more on authentic, true, honest, honest to yourself, knowing yourself. And actually it means like walking your own path, walking your own shoes, exact as the opposite of that, walking in the shoes that someone else put out there. Create your own footsteps. Do I sense it right, or am I getting off track?
No, I think the words have the meaning that you take from them. Reliable is indicative of saying that if you can continue to do things in a certain way, that you will get a certain outcome, and that's compared to others who almost chase the flavor of the day. So if AI is the thing to do, they chase AI just because it's the thing to do, as opposed to what will AI do for my goals, for my, in your vocabulary, will it help me to move towards being aligned in my leadership, or is it a distraction? Is it a tool or a toy? Right, and so the reliability side of it is trying to be true to yourself, and the outcomes that come from that will lead you towards the goal that you have set for yourself, on the assumption that that goal is more alignment with your higher purpose, as opposed to something that is in the media and in the news cycle.
That's quite counter-cultural in a business setting. In a business setting, we are so used to fall back on proven processes, practices, frameworks. And even if they're not proven, we love to use them, because if it doesn't work, it wasn't us. It was them. So in a way, by making them reliable on staying close to who you are, it also means you have to be accountable to yourself. You have to understand more about yourself as a leader. You you have to own your choices. So it opens up a whole new stage of maturity and life, future invitation, that you normally would not go into, because it's not expected from you. So it's quite disruptive in nature to go this, actually to start your own journey.
It's disruptive for sure, but it's also a challenge, because it means going against what other people think, in some cases. And those people may be your shareholders, they may be your partners, they may be your employees, and they're going to have their own concerns about the journey, the destination, the way, the path that you're intending to go. But that's where the conviction comes in. And just to add to that, consistency doesn't mean doing the exact same thing every day. It means taking a consistent approach to things. And what you talked about earlier about frameworks that people follow, even if they don't work, the expression that I love to bring out is, if the horse that you're riding is dead, get off it. In other words, if that framework isn't supporting your goal, if it isn't helping you towards what you're doing, then move on to something else. Make the modifications, make the course corrections. And consistency isn't about blindly following the same thing and doing the same thing every day. It's about showing up every day and trying to figure out, what are the steps that I need to take in order to achieve my goal? What's going to move the needle, as opposed to what are going to be just distractions in my daily activities.
That shapes consistency as nurturing your life rhythm, instead of to-do lists, achievement tasks, checklists. That gives a lot of responsibility to you as a leader. And in return, it creates the freedom to live a life that's happening now. If we translate the word happiness to happening, because else happiness becomes another destination that we get to or not yet or never.
Exactly. And I think it's looking at happiness and fulfillment not as a goal or as a reward that you get after years and years of dedication and service, but as something to be experienced and enjoyed along the way. And one of the things I love about your philosophy and how you're trying to bring more higher level awareness to leaders is that a lot of the work that I focus on is at what I would call the more fundamental level. Helping someone to go from a lack of awareness to awareness and then moving along on a journey. And what I love about your research and also your strategy and thoughts about it is that you're constantly pushing people to think at a higher level, to think at that more enlightened level of leadership, and to integrate that into their goals and objectives.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe I'm looking for a better word than enlightenment, because somewhere deep inside is already the light that shines. It needs to come out. So in a way, it's an alignment of not what you think, but who you are and who you are becoming. And it should unfold all the way that it manifests. And I love to use the language of you are the greatest gift for some people, not for all people. So if you align with you being the greatest gift and you align with the people who are actually waiting for it, then we start to see that we flourish between people. And then it doesn't become this well, I would nearly say fake impression of, oh, that person is successful. He became a billionaire overnight. Well, who says that person is successful? What is success? How do you measure success? Most of the measurements of success are based on, again, an external point of reference. What if is success is that you fully become who you are created to be and really enjoy being you and see that other people really enjoy you being you? Then we get another world.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing that I like about that philosophy, for lack of a better term, is that you're making the um, you're making the statement, you're taking the position that not everyone is going to see you as the greatest gift or receive you as the greatest gift. But if you align with the people that are, then you will be the greatest version of yourself, as opposed to trying to be all things to all people.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's your greatness that is really valuable for someone else, as the opposite of becoming the better version of you. Because what's better? This is one of my long-term friends says, good is the evil of great, or the enemy of great, she said. And I think for me, that's a reflection point on a daily basis. That's part of my reliable actions, that whatever I face and I want to partner with it, does it support being good or being great? Because there's so many things good. But then we get into a moral discussion and not in an authentic leadership discussion. But when it is something that's great for me, because it means that I could stop in my greatness and be that gift for the right people, I think that then I've done a good thing. But it's sometimes really hard to justify, well, wrong word, not justify, but to quantify if you spend your time well. Because again, me, like many others, I have to face that most of the things that I think, well done, Arjan, are based on external expectation. So it's quite a journey of unlearning and letting go reference and find your own way as a leader. But it's really worth it. I truly believe it's really worth it because someone is waiting for it.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges that I find, particularly with people that are, um, on the verge or definitely in burnout, is that they have defined that all activities are important and at a level of importance that's equal. And what that means is that there's nothing that comes up during their day that doesn't merit their time and attention. And what people who are on this journey towards being in alignment become masters at is being able to decide which things are going to move towards moving the needle and which things are important and perhaps even need to be done at some point in time, but don't need to be done today if they need to be done at all. And that is a real struggle for a lot of people because they've elevated everything on their schedule to things that need to be done immediately, and that is what this hamster wheel turns on, because every day they get up in the morning and they have a million things to do, and by the time they go to bed, they still have a million things to do.
Yeah. Then you become a slave of your own to-do list. And in futurizing, in the process, we always help people first to make a 180-degree turn to face the future that's unfolding in front of them versus walking backwards to the future because we are still focused on the things that are on yesterday's lists that we couldn't finish. And if the list is leading and not your identity, it becomes impossible to make the distinction between what's important and what's urgent. And then everything seems urgent and you're overwhelmed. You're at least at minimum, you're impressed and you will place yourself under the amount of things that need to be done, not knowing if they're important, but they all seem urgent. And you think, well, just buckle up, get over with it. Then I finally can focus on the future, can finally focus on me becoming more of me. And it never happens. And people get disappointed in themselves and they let go, which means they need to find something to compensate the lack of fulfillment and happiness in most of their daily hours. And before we know, we get so fragmented and segmented in life that we are overwhelmed by keeping it all in balance. The truth is, and I confront myself and face that list and really say, no, this is not important. No, this is not urgent. And make a shifting, or sifting is maybe a better word, a sifting in that long list of what is life-giving and what is not. But you need real courage.
And that, I think that's an important distinction. The courage part is particularly important because people have come to think that 60, 70, 80 hour work weeks are what it takes. And they wear that kind of work regime as a badge of honor, of thinking that the dedication is what's going to make the difference. And the more things that come onto their plate, the more things they try to deal with by overworking or outworking the problem. And that leads to physical or mental burnout. And one of the things that's probably the most um, disparaging in that whole situation is that the reason why they founded the company, the reason why they had such passion for the business or their role in the business starts to dissipate and starts to go away, and the things that used to give them joy no longer give them joy. And so, to your point, they look at other outlets in order to be able to, um, find that fulfillment. And in some cases, it's diving even more deeply into their work, thinking that that's going to give them the satisfaction that they're looking for.
Yeah, busyness can be an excuse not to look into the mirror, not have self-reflection, not become more self-aware. And we say it so easily, like, "Well, what have you been doing today?" "Well, I was busy." But that's, in a way, that's not relevant if you are busy or not busy. It's what you said. It needs to connect to what you're passionate about, what your drive is. And then we call it different. Then we say we are in flow. Well, it doesn't really matter as well either. It's like, did it energize you? Did it give you joy? Could you give that joy and energy to other people? Did you see progress in what gives you life? And I have to eliminate that from my own list of default words, and I tend to confront people with them and say, "Well, you use the word busy. What if that's not important? What's that's an excuse to not look into the mirror, self-reflect?" Because in a way, you're not different than what we talk about when we judge our young people scrolling all day through social media. Keeps them busy. They don't have to face themselves. Well, what was the model they got? Parents that worked the long hours, making a career, building up life, but never had life. So before I forget, I really want to invite our listeners to not miss the chance to continue this conversation. So just DM future to continue the conversation. And don't forget as well to subscribe to this channel and leave your comments so that we can tailor our conversations and address also what's on your heart, what you are wrestling with as a leader on your journey of being and becoming authentic. Tell us more about how people can get your book, The Consistency Effect.
Sure. And thank you for that opportunity. My website is www.consistency-edge.com. And there you can find out more information about me. And there's also a page there where you can order the book off your favorite Amazon platform, wherever you are in the world.
Well, I encourage everyone, and I will share the link as well in the description of our podcast. I encourage everyone to just check out your page, check out your book, and actually use it to reflect on their own journey and see where they can just improve by prioritizing who they are and who they are becoming. But I have a last question, and I hope it's not the most complex one. But preparing for our interview and going through the book, I had this. You mentioned core competence, and I was thinking like that must be more than mastery. That must include meaning and maturity, and it must connect very close to finding that alignment with your intrinsic motivation. Am I right? Did I sense the right thing, or I
You
think
know,
I do?
yeah, I think to have an internal passion, as you talk about it, is important. To understand it is another level, and then to make sure that you're in alignment with that understanding is yet another level. And it's what I love about your research, because it really focuses on all of those component pieces together. And my core competency has always been about figuring things out, and a lot of the leaders I work with, they got into a leadership position because they were the best at whatever they did before they were in a leadership position, and for the most part they became the subject matter expert. But early in my career, I started switching industries, and I quickly recognized that as a leader, you're not the subject matter expert. You're the question expert, the person who asks the best questions. And rather than trying to be the smartest person in the room, you're the person who brings together a room full of very smart people and helps them all to come to distinctions and conclusions that none of them would have come to by themselves. And by moving from industry to industry, because now I've been in 7 different industries, I came to not only embrace that, but to recognize how important that was as a skill and a capability in my own purpose, which is to help leaders become the best version of themselves. Because I did that when I was the CEO of various companies, and now I do that as an executive and leadership coach.
Yeah, I believe it can't be said enough that if you as a leader are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. And I still hear it a lot, that the behavior of the leader is that of an autocratic or technocratic leader. That's not the life and the leadership we have in 2025. What we need is authentic leaders that know who to bring together and empower them for their personal growth and happiness. And when they are brought together, the result is more than, I would even say not the sum, but it will be more and different than just the parts, which is a real big challenge. And in a way, we can all do it on our own scale. You don't have to be the formal leader with the big title and the private parking spot. That everyone is a leader, because everyone makes daily choices that have influence on not just yourself, but also others. So even if it's empowering those people you are in your inner circle, you empower them by asking the questions. And you honor them by taking their answers really serious, and actually surprise yourself that they contribute something that you couldn't think about. And it opens doors, it changes the trajectory, it gives life. But that can be scary when you haven't dealt with that you need the external confirmation. Because now the belonging is not coming from the outside, the belonging needs to be on the inside. And it's not about ego and pride. It is about you doing all those people a huge favor, and the result is they do together you a favor. You need courage for that as well.
Absolutely. And, taking that one step further is that it's important for the leader to understand that not only are they going to take this role themselves, but they need their group, their direct reports to model that behavior with the next level down and the next level down and so on and so on. Because then you'll have a totally aligned organization, because you can have an enlightened CEO, but if his direct reports are the smartest people in their rooms, that's where the power stops. So until it's actually pushed down into the organization to every level that's relevant, that's where you'll get a totally aligned organization.
Well, to wrap up our conversation, I'd like to ask you, what are the three takeaways? What's your final thought that we should not skip, not forget out of our conversation?
I think the most important thing we talked about is not deferring happiness and fulfillment until the achievement of some future goal. Don't see those two things as a reward for your dedication and determination. See them as things to enjoy along the way, because that's what's going to make the biggest difference in terms of your life and your fulfillment. I think the other thing is most important is have the courage and the confidence, as you described it, to be the person in the room who even if you think you have the answers to the questions that are coming up on the floor, um, allow the rest of the group to come to those conclusions themselves, rather than creating passive dependent relationships with your employees where they just wait until you have figured it out or until you put forth an answer, and then they just will blindly follow that solution or answer, because that's not how you're going to create an organization that can function when you're not there. That's not how you're going to reclaim time in your schedule to be able to invest in strategic growth, your family, your health, etc. So, make sure that you're the one who's asking all the questions, not the one who's giving all of the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. When you want your people to flourish, you need to empower them. We know that. But we should also expect that they become powerful and they need freedom. So don't take away their freedom. Empower them to find it out themselves, contribute, encourage them, and verify and validate their answers. Don't leave them somewhere in the middle of that empowerment hanging, so doubt takes over, and instead that they're build up, their self-doubt will break them down, because then the trust is gone, the trust in themselves, the trust in their contribution, and they all become people that suck up and buckle up and cover up, and that's not what you want.
Totally. And the last thing, because you asked for three, is to be consistent, to do those things as many times as is possible and necessary, rather than just during or after the offsite meeting, or just during or after some strategic initiative has been launched, because your employees, your suppliers, your customers are watching every move that you make. And they're making distinctions about how aligned you are, whether you know it or not. And consistency will be the goal, or consistency will be the road to get to the goal of being aligned.
Yeah. And it's like telling the truth. If you want to be consistency, it needs to be aligned with who you are. Because you cannot build an avatar and be consistent. You have to be truly yourself to be consistent.
I love your word too, because a lie is hard to remember, whereas being consistent and aligned isn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Brett, for this deep insights. I will ponder about it because I love the language of someone else expressing it and seeing it the same thing from another angle. I really loved our conversation. So thank you for your time and input.
It's my pleasure. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to be a guest on your show, and I love what you've been doing in your leadership teachings and with this podcast.
Thank you. And I would love to continue with this. So I want to thank as well everyone who tuned in. And I trust that it really resonated with you, what we spoke about. And I hope it even sparked something meaningful for your own journey. So please leave your comments below, subscribe to our channel, or DM Future to continue this conversation. We love to read your comments and interact with you. And if you can't wait for next week's podcast, you're definitely invited to explore the future with us by just joining the Alt Dialogue. This is an exclusive peer dialogue for visionary leaders to pioneer and ponder the real question that matters right now for your leadership development, for your preparation for the next chapter, and to actually create that future that we all sense and desire on the inside together. So just DM Future, and I'll make sure you get the right information.